We all like to debate about which Flash is the fastest, but what about the Flash's rogues? Which one of them is the fastest? And are they faster even than the Flash? Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Today we aim to answer some of these questions as we count down the top 10 of the Flash's fastest villains. Join me and let's get counting. Number 10, Gorilla Grodd. The new 52 version of Gorilla Grodd is even known for being speedy. I love Gorilla Grodd as a Flash villain. It's just, I love all the comic book apes and monkeys, I think. They're just so great. I could do a whole list on Marvel's Hit Monkey, just saying. Gorilla Grodd ended up being charged with the Speed Force and finding a way to tap into it. Initially, his connection to the Speed Force is shown as being much more limited than traditional speedsters and can easily become depleted, requiring him to find more energy to basically charge back up with. However, after being trapped within the Speed Force and escaping, his connection to it and just his overall power in general was improved. It should be noted, however, that even his connection was not entirely stable. Gorilla Grodd's super speed powers have tended to fluctuate throughout his prime Earth history. Sometimes he has them, sometimes he doesn't. Number 9, Christina Molotova. I wanted to call everyone by their aliases here on this list, but then I realized while Christina's main alias is Lady Flash, she's also had a lot of other names that have pretty much been tied to all of the men that she's allied herself with, such as Lady Savage and Lady Savitar. I'm not really here for that, and I also thought it might be easier to just call her by her own real name to prevent any confusion besides as we get into her whole story. It's kind of crazy how many people she has followed and just kind of decided that she'd be the lady version of. Christina started out as a member of the Soviet Union's Blue Trinity, who was given a serum as a child that granted her super speed, but only while using that serum. Her team would later end up being sold to Vandal Savage, who got her addicted to Velocity 9, basically another super speed granting serum. However, while up till that point she relied on substances to grant her super speed, she would later come to ally herself with Savitar, whom she'd remain loyal to because he actually transferred Speed Force powers to Christina, basically freeing her from her addiction, which I think is a pretty understandable reason to want to be loyal to someone. Like, even though Savitar is a bad guy, that's kind of a cool thing that he did. Unfortunately, while her Speed Force powers were finally legit, she ended up dying alongside her leader Savitar by the touch of Barry Allen's The Flash. And if you're like, how did a touch kill her? You can go back and read about it, but basically people got touched and they got disintegrated. I don't think Barry Allen meant to do that. He wasn't like, haha, you're dead. That'd be very villainous of him. Number 8, Negative Flash. Negative Flash was also known as the hero Fast Track. She was one of the new speedsters to join the ranks after the Speed Force storm that touched down on Central City, granting many people Speed Force powers. However, she would end up being pulled into the villainous organization known as Black Hole, turning her into a villain. Negative Flash, aka Fast Track, aka Mina DeWan's powers were initially connected to the Speed Force, but became connected to the negative Speed Force additionally when she absorbed that negative Speed Force energy from within Barry Allen. Mina was shown to be fast enough to keep up with Barry Allen and could possibly even keep up with Godspeed. Number 7, Reverse Flash. The Reverse Flash we are talking about here is Daniel West. Daniel West was the uncle of Wally West and the brother of Iris West. He had a rough childhood to say the least, which ended up culminating in a breaking point for young Daniel, who after his constant mistreatment by his father ended up pushing him down the stairs in retaliation. As a result, his father would never be able to walk again, and Iris would come to resent her brother, believing he had taken things way too far despite always previously being there to defend him. Daniel West would end up fixating forever on this past mistake and believe the best way to fix what had happened would be to kill Iris and Daniel's father before the event occurred. In order to enact this plan, he would need to travel back in time, which is where speedsters came in. Daniel found a way to siphon the Speed Force energy from speedsters, effectively killing them, in order to store up enough of a charge to transport himself back in time. This put him in direct conflict with the Flash, Barry Allen. Daniel's speed powers are impressive, but they don't make him nearly as fast as some of the other fastest speedster heroes out there. Also, like Christina, he's dead now, so I was like, if people are dead, should I put them low? Because they're technically dead now. But I think I'm just gonna consider this like peak speeds. Peak speeds is what we're talking about, friends. And before we move on to this next spot on the list, just a quick reminder to hit that like, comment, subscribe, do all the cool stuff. It makes you cooler, and it definitely helps us out too, so thank you. Number 6, Savitar. Even though Savitar is not one of the tippy top fastest Flash villains around, he's still pretty crazy fast. He is fast enough to keep up with Wally, which means that he's faster than Barry Allen at least. Savitar also can simply make himself faster than many of the other speedsters. He is a charismatic character who created a cult based around his powers and beliefs, and at one point uses one of his followers, Christina Molotova's abilities, to transfer Speed Force powers from speedster heroes the world over to his own followers. He then attempted to kill any heroes left who remained in his way, including Wally West. But in the end, his own desire to integrate with the Speed Force directly would be his downfall. treadmill. That and, like I said, the touch of Barry Allen, which disintegrated him. Bye! Number 5. Zoom. Zoom actually started out as a friend of the Flash. Hunter Zolomon was a member of the FBI who had suffered a personal tragedy that inspired him to learn more about criminal psychology. Apparently that's how all people that I feel like are detectives or like FBI agents in DC Comics, that's what always inspires these people. His father had been a serial killer who, rather than turn himself over, had his wife killed and refused to surrender to the authorities, being killed by the police as a result. After becoming paralyzed during an attack on the maximum security prison Iron Heights, Hunter turned to Wally West and the Cosmic Treadmill for help to undo the accident that had paralyzed him. Wally, however, revealed this was not something he could do, as it could immensely damage the timeline. Hunter instead broke into the Flash Museum himself, attempting to use the Cosmic Treadmill against Wally's advice and caused an explosion in the process. This destroyed the museum but gave Zoom superpowers that allowed him to control time relative to himself, meaning that he can basically drastically speed himself up or slow himself down in comparison to everything that's happening around him. It's a little confusing, but it's pretty cool. Zoom relative to other people is therefore super fast, although to himself it just might feel as though he's moving normally, since he is in control of his own time flow, basically, if you will. After getting his powers, he would set out on a mission to make Wally a better hero. The way he saw it, Wally had refused to help him because, unlike Hunter and Barry Allen's Flash, he didn't know what it was like to suffer a personal tragedy. So he set out to show him what it was like, making him a better hero by attempting to kill his wife, because that's what friends are for. Apparently. Number 4. Godspeed. Although Godspeed became a hero in the end, he did kind of start out as a villain. Of course, it wasn't at all his fault that he became a villain, as he was being manipulated by Eobard Thawne, dun dun dun. But this is, of course, why he isn't considered a full villain in my mind. Still, his actions were not great, and Godspeed, despite having heroic intentions, did end up killing a lot of people, especially other new speedsters. He was all about catching the criminals behind cold cases and getting closure for families, all because of his own brother's death. Godspeed in the Arrowverse is estimated to have a top speed of over 1 million kilometers per hour, or around 670,000 miles per hour if you're measuring in miles. That is really fast. Of course, in the comics, the more Speed Force Godspeed absorbs, the more powerful and the faster he gets. Number 3. Reverse Flash. Eobard Thawne, I would say, is one of the fastest villains out there, simply because, well, he's capable of time travel. Of course, a lot of other people on this list are capable of time travel, but I feel like he's one of the people that uses it the best. And of course, any time anyone can use time travel, it means they can actually pop up anywhere, at any time. It doesn't necessarily mean he is the fastest runner, although he's like super fast, but it just means he can almost always be on time if he wants to be, or early, time travel. Meaning he could beat you in a race simply by time traveling to where you need to get to, but show up before you even get there. Eobard Thawne, even without all this time traveling shenanigans connected to the negative Speed Force, is also just very fast in general. He was fast enough to sneak up behind Godspeed and kill him before Godspeed could even have any time to react, so that's pretty fast. Number 2. The Black Racer. The Black Racer is one of the fastest villains and speedsters around because he is meant to represent death. The Black Racer is an aspect of death incarnate. Not all of death, of course, as this character was also supposed to be a prisoner of Apocalypse, so if it were the only representation, I imagine other people in the universe wouldn't really be able to die unless Darkseid allowed it, I guess. This aspect of death eventually merged with Barry Allen during the events of Darkseid War. Barry became the new god that represented death, aka the new Black Racer, for a very short time, after trying in vain to outrun the death-bringing speedster. But you know, he's fast. It's a tough job, but hey, you know, someone's gotta do it. Someone's gotta catch those people, race them, and kill them. I don't know. Don't worry though, Barry's connection to the Black Racer would shortly thereafter be severed, and he'd be free to be a hero again once more. Success. Number 1. The Black Flash. The Black Flash is like the Black Racer, but a little more specific. He is the version of death who is specifically responsible for the speedsters, because I guess speedsters are so fast, too fast really, that they need their own version of death. They need someone who can beat their own speed, otherwise they'd outrun death, I suppose. I mean, I know you could play games against death to defeat him, and I've heard even of competing in music competitions with death, but I feel like the idea of racing death might be comic book exclusive. I think that I've never heard of that in any other tales that I've read. Despite being a villainous entity in a way because, well, the Black Flash kills people, at one point during Rebirth, Barry Allen took on the role of becoming the Black Flash after the former was believed to have been found dead. I don't know how you kill death, but I guess it's a thing that can happen. Also, I love that Barry Allen has been death twice. Can we just acknowledge that? Who are your favorite Flash villains? Which do you think is the fastest? Which do you think is simply the most powerful? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I am your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you as always to stay nerdy, YouTube.